Hello, I'm Andrew, and I'm working on my MMORPG Dev Tycoon game. A big part of my game is skills. Players have skills, monsters have skills, NPCs have skills, so I need a good customizable skill constructor. Moreover, as an RPG, it's expected to wear weapons and armors which can give you protection or attack power or increase health or anything else. So this led me that I need a lot of different stats. Some of them should be capped, like crit chance with 0 minimum and a hang rate maximum. Some others should not be capped, like magical defense, which positive values means real defense, but a negative values means weakness. And of course I wanted to buff or buff any of these values with multiple time effects through my skill system. This seems like a complex task, right? I thought I could share you my solution. I'm going to shoot a series of videos and explain how to create the foundation of a skill system, just like I use in my project. You can freely use it in any of your games. Oh, and in my guides, I assume you know the basics of Unity. Before the start, I'm going to set up a simple scene, the floor, light and 2 character models. I placed all of the secondary objects in the separate game object and disabled clicks because I don't want to select them anymore in the scene view. At first, we need a script to control a single character. Let's create it. I'm making all of my classes sealed if they are not meant to be inherited. It's a good practice and it has some performance benefits. First feature we should implement is stats, so let's create a folder basics and a new script called stats. This class will be used internally, so it don't need to be inherited of monobehavior. By the way, about monobehavior, this is certainly a useful component, but the less you use it the better. It has some performance overhead, so consider to not use it if it's not really necessary. Alright, stats. The first thing that may come to mind is just to list all of the parameters, like int attack, int defense and so on. But this is really a bad solution. We want the values can change dynamically during the game. Let's say we change some values, and now we need to check if the values have gone below or above acceptable. I don't want the attack drops below 1, but defense can. The critical chance should be within 100, and the critical modifier cannot go below 10%. In the current solution, I will have to list and validate all these values in the code. It's dirty and impractical. There will come a time when I will need to reset these values and I will have to list them all again. When I want to add or subtract these values, I will once more have to list them all individually. Deleted. This is how it's done. I've created a separate class to handle general logic, and each stat is an instance of that class. Let's now create the class stat itself. First of all, I will create an enum and list all my stats in it. Then I'll hide this big enum into a separate file with partial keyword. Now we've got 2 files for a single class. Let's get back to the main one and fill it. Here we've got a public getter for the value and its parameters such as the name and minimal and maximum values. We've got a constructor for initialization that also puts itself into the list for later use. We've got 2 simple methods for reset and for validation. As you can see, they look much better. Now we can create each of the stat once in the constructor of class stats. I'm passing all the desired constraints in this place. Now to validate values or to reset values, I need only 2 simple functions. Next thing we should do is to change these values somehow. The player can equip a weapon, gain a level up or receive a debuff. We'll need a structure that keeps a list of changed values. Let's create 2 more classes for this, by analogy with the class stats. Stats container is just a storage for stat containers, and the stat container will have information of what stat changed and how much. I'll also add a boolean to describe if we need to add or subtract these values. In the editor, it's really simple to forget to write a minus, and we don't want our debuffs to actually buff targets. a serializable attribute required to properly save this data later. Now we can fill our stats with these containers and count the final values. I've added methods for adding and removing containers, after which we recalculate the totals. Of course, we will need to implement the calculation itself as well. Also, I want something to happen after changing the character stats. It can be a UI changed or something else, so I just created a non-changed event to subscribe on it later. Great, we've done stats, but we don't really use it. Let's place it in the player character class. It would be possible to initialize in the start method, but I would like to control the moment of character initialization more accurately. Therefore, I will make an initialize method that I will call from outside. I will create a temporary class that will trigger initialization. In the future, it will also store information about the player's race and class. Now I can assign the player character and test player character classes to the characters on the scene, but if I hit play, nothing happens. We're not passing any containers to the stats. Moreover, we don't actually have any. I want the players have races and classes, and both can give you some stats. Let's create a race first. It should just have a name and a container. Pay attention to the serializable attribute. Now we need a config to configure any number of races. I'm using a scriptable object with the createAssetMenu attribute to create actual config. If the question arises, why is the race class separated from the config, then the fact is that I want to be able to create races not only from the editor. In my game, the player will be able to create their own races during the game. This would be impossible via a single scriptable object. And now we can create a file of our first race. It is not very comfortable to configure it right now, although it is quite possible. Here's what my config looked like, for comparison. There are a little more variables, but it's the same class. The fact is that I write custom inspectors for my project. However, this is not the purpose of this video, so maybe we will examine them another time. Let's just add stats that all people should have. Now we will make a class and a config for it, according to the same principle. And we'll create and configure a new class in the same way. Great! All we have left now is to pass containers from race and class to stats of our characters. Let's go back to the moment of our character's initialization and add a few lines in there. Now we need to add methods for setting the class and race to our player character. The code is ready. It remains only to check the result. Since there are no visual display at the moment, we will use the debug. Also, don't forget to assign the desired race and class to the characters. We have two characters on scene, so the logs are doubled. Done! Now we have convenient stats in which we can throw any number of containers for equipment, buffs and so on. I hope my approach to architecture will be useful to you. I think that's all for today. Let me know by likes or comments that this format is interesting to you. But the most important thing is to add my game to the wishlist on Steam. You will find the link under the video. I will also be very grateful if you support me on the Patreon. I invest a lot of effort and money to make a good game and a useful content. Your support is the best motivation. See you next time. Bye.